Mom didn't even wait for the room to settle. She lifted her glass in front of the entire Thanksgiving table and said something so sharp it sliced straight through the noise. She announced that Emily would get the insurance money because I didn't need it. No whisper, no hesitation, just a public verdict, handed down like I wasn't family at all. Fork stopped. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the candles seemed to flicker differently. I kept my face still, but inside, something finally locked into place. Before I take you into that moment, tell me, where are you watching from? And when you hear the rest, tell me what you would have done. My name is Chloe. And for as long as I can remember, I've learned to move quietly through rooms my own family filled. Not because I'm timid, but because quiet lets you see everything people think they've hidden. It's the kind of instinct you grow when you have a mother like mine, someone who adores control as much as she adores my younger sister. Emily. Emily, if you haven't guessed already, is the sun in my mother's sky. She's 2 years younger than me, sweet when she wants to be, a little fragile after her recent divorce, and right now she's living back at Mom's house. Every decision in that home bends toward her. It always has. Growing up, she got the celebrations, the attention, the soft explanations. I got the responsibility and the paperwork. Paperwork. That word has followed me longer than any memory. When I was 19, Mom handed me a stack of update forms, insisting it was just routine government stuff. Nothing important. I signed because I trusted her, but I will never forget the small logo in the corner, something I recognized years later while filing my own documents in Denver. An insurance company. That moment stayed with me like a bruise under the skin, unseen, but impossible to ignore. Life in Denver gave me space. I work in analysis, the kind of job that trains you to follow timelines, spot inconsistencies, and pay attention when someone dodges a detail. It made me sharper, steadier, better at understanding motives, but nothing prepares you for your own family. When Mom called about Thanksgiving this year, her voice was too bright, too rehearsed. She told me the whole extended family would be at Aunt Carol's house in Seattle. Cousins, older relatives, people who love drama more than dessert. She said she had important news to share and wanted everyone present. That alone was strange. She never makes announcements unless they make her look good. Aunt Carol's house has always been neutral ground. A big kitchen, a long wooden table, warm lighting, the kind of place where you expect peace. Not a cross-examination. When I arrived, Mom hugged me first, stepping back to look at me the same way she always has, like I grew into someone she secretly expected I would be, yet still didn't fully trust. My cousins chatted around the kitchen island. Uncle Mike was already telling loud stories in the next room. It all felt familiar. Except for one thing. Mom's hands wouldn't stay still. They kept fluttering, smoothing her sweater, adjusting her necklace, trying to look confident, and failing terribly. Emily walked in later, smiling when she saw me. I smiled back, though something in her eyes looked tired, like she'd been holding herself up on too little sleep. She has never been cruel to me, just easily influenced, especially by Mom. As we sat down, I felt it, a shift in the air, a tension hiding under the clatter of plates. Something was coming, something Mom wasn't ready for me to see clearly, but I already had the truth folded quietly inside my phone. Dinner had barely begun when the first crack showed itself. Mom made a too casual comment, the kind meant to slip past most people unnoticed. But I've spent years listening between her words. I felt it land like a pebble thrown into still water. She mentioned finally getting things processed, then changed the subject instantly. Red flag. 10 minutes later, my cousin, who hears everything, leaned over and whispered, "Your mom seems off tonight." I shrugged, but I'd noticed it too. Mom wasn't eating. She kept glancing at Emily, and every time someone mentioned finances or paperwork, her shoulders TENCD dot under the table. I unlocked my phone with my thumb. The email from the insurance company still sat there. A review notice. Pending investigation. Documents under verification. Everything polite but unmistakable. They were investigating the claim Mom had filed. Emily leaned closer and whispered, "Did Mom say something to you about money?" Her voice trembled. "No," I said quietly. "Why? Did she tell you something?" She shook her head. "She keeps saying she has a surprise. But I don't know anything about insurance." Insurance. The word hit like metal in my mouth. Red flag number 3. Mom continued performing. She talked about how hard the year had been for Emily, her voice dripping with sympathy. She painted Emily as fragile, deserving, someone who needed. Well, exactly what she was planning to give her, and that's when I recognized the tone. Her guilty tone. The same one she used when she slid those forms toward me 10 years ago. Mom was unraveling, thread by thread, and no one else saw it. But I did Dot by the time she lifted her glass to make her announcement. I wasn't shocked. I was ready. She raised her glass and tried to regain control, but her voice slipped on the first word. She forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Before we get too deep into dinner," she said, "I want to acknowledge everything Emily has been through. She deserves a fresh start." Emily frowned. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Mom ignored her and continued, sounding like she was reading from a script only she had rehearsed. "Life hasn't been fair to her. So when the opportunity came, I did what any mother would do. I made sure she'd be taken care of." The audience, our family, shifted. Aunt Carol's eyebrows rose. Uncle Mike leaned back. Even the older relatives watched with suspicion. Emily asked again, louder, "Mom, what opportunity?" Mom muttered, "It's complicated," waving her hand like she always did to shut people down. Tonight, Emily stared at her. "What did you do?" I could have spoken, but real revenge requires restraint. Silence does more than shouting ever will. Mom panicked in my silence and made her biggest mistake. She looked straight at me. "Chloe, you understand, right? Emily needs help. This isn't a big deal." I met her eyes calmly. "Why don't you explain it to everyone?" Her breath caught. Emily's face paled. "Mom, did you file something for Dad's policy?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Aunt Carol's voice cut in. "If something is going on, this is the time to say it." Mom snapped. I wasn't sneaking, but she was, and everyone knew it. I breathed slowly. "We can talk about it, but we should talk about what was filed. And by who?" Mom's face drained of color. The curtain lifted. The stage was set. I stood. My voice stayed calm. "Mom, why don't you tell them who filed the claim?" The room froze. Every sound vanished. Emily stood too. Her voice cracked. "What claim?" Mom hissed. "Not now." "No," Emily said. "I want to know." Mom's hands trembled. "Chloe, stop being dramatic. You're misunderstanding." "I'm not," I said softly. "And you know I'm not." Aunt Carol spoke firmly. "We deserve to know the truth." Mom whispered, "It's just paperwork. Nothing serious." There it was. That word again. I pulled out my phone and opened the email. My voice stayed steady. "The insurance payout for Dad's supplemental policy is frozen. They received a claim, but they're investigating irregularities, specifically issues with the signature and the beneficiary information." Murders of whispers spread across the table. Emily covered her mouth. "Mom, you listed me?" Mom snapped. "She needs help. Chloe has a job, a life." Emily pulled her hand away. "You used Dad's name. You did this without telling either of us." Mom whispered, "I was trying to protect you." "No," I answered. You were trying to control us. Mom sagged into her chair. Aunt Carol asked bluntly, "Did you forge something?" Mom exploded too fast. Her denial sounded like guilt. Emily's voice broke. "You were going to let me think I was the villain." Mom winced. Silence fell, finally on her shoulders. "Not mine." I placed my phone down gently. "I didn't come here to humiliate you. But you made a public announcement about something you had no right to do in private." Mom whispered, shaking. "Everything I did was for this family." "No," I said. "Everything you did was to pretend you were holding it together." Emily wiped her eyes. "I don't want money that came from a lie." That sentence cracked something inside Mom. Not loud, not dramatic, just truth settling like a stone for the first time. She bowed her head, and everyone finally understood who had been holding this family together all along. The the days after Thanksgiving were quiet. I flew back to Denver feeling lighter than I had in years. A week later, the insurance company called. The payout would be divided equally, exactly as intended. Emily called that night, voice shaky but honest. She had confronted Mom. She refused the money. She refused the lie. Mom eventually sent me a short message. Not quite an apology, but an acknowledgement that her choices had consequences. I didn't respond with anger. I didn't respond with forgiveness. Some things take time. What mattered was simple. The lie didn't win. And for the first time, neither did she. Sometimes. The quietest sentence is the one that finally breaks the pattern. If any part of my story felt familiar, share yours in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, make sure you subscribe so you never miss the next one.